We're busy planting lots of trees on our farm this spring here, and one of the steps of the process that you have to do before you even stick the tree in the ground is to lay off the ground, which means measuring very carefully to lay out the orchard block at the spacing you have planned for your trees. The next step is to go through and do what we call subsoiling, which is what Brad is doing right here with this tractor. The Subsoiler Attachment is on the back of our tractor, and it does just what it says. If you're familiar with Latin, sub means under, and it's going under the ground to kind of rip the soil up and break it up so that it is looser whenever we go through with the tree planter to put our trees into the ground. It's necessary because a lot of times with no-till farming, which is what I'll talk about in a moment, the ground gets rather compact and you need to really loosen that ground up, just like you would if you were planting a garden at home. It doesn't work so well when you have really hard, compact soil. You've got to loosen it up. So Brad has just gone through here with the subsoiler, and you can see now that the ground is nice and loose, ready to be planted. So what I mentioned was the no-till farming that we have going on in this orchard block. There was corn planted in here last year, which is always good to rotate your crops and is the same for you at home as a home gardener too. It uses different nutrients in the soil rather than always using the same nutrients for the same kind of planting year after year. So corn was planted here, and this no-till concept is very environmentally friendly because rather than completely plow all the corn under and dig up the whole field before we planted it with apple trees, we've left the corn intact and we're basically working around it and through it and under it and around it. So we'll leave it here. Rather than expose all of that soil with heavy rainfalls, it can cause severe erosion. You can have lots of runoff, which is bad for the environment. So it's a really good practice to use on your farm. And it also saves you a few steps of the process if you don't have to go through and plow your whole field. So this is about a 6-acre planting of Honeycrisp apple trees that we're working very hard to get in the ground here today. It's calling for some rain tonight, that we're trying to get as many trees planted as possible before these rains so that they get a nice fresh drink of water right after they were planted. They're spaced at about 2.5 feet by 12 feet in the orchard rows, which is an incredibly high density planting. It'll net us about 1,450 trees to the acre, which in a few years' time is going to be producing lots of really, really delicious, really, really yummy Honeycrisp. So here's another look at planting orchards on the farm and all the steps that it involves. It's a really labor-intensive process that is a lot more difficult and time-consuming than just sticking trees in the ground.